Hello and welcome to this demo video. Before we get started, I'd just like to explain to you a few things which will relate to all of the basic range spreadsheets. Number one, there is a key on the intro and setup tab of all of the spreadsheets showing what the different color headers mean. The blue headers mean that the cell's formulated, so it's locked and you can't change it. The yellow headers are where you can input data, and occasionally there might be some gray headers, which is just a different kind of data input, but we'll include instructions as and when that happens. The other thing that you can be aware of is there are ways in which you can damage the spreadsheet. So please do take a look at the link where you see this image, which will take you to a web page to show you how to better preserve your spreadsheet. Please feel free to keep a blank version of the spreadsheet somewhere, so that if you do mess up a spreadsheet that you're using, you can in fact just open a new one, a blank one. And some of the spreadsheets only last for a year, and then you've got a blank one to start the following year. So do keep a blank copy as a backup somewhere. And lastly, wherever you see this image, you can click on it. It'll take you back to the store where you purchased this product to see if you've got anything, any more products. One last thing, to see a demo video, you can click on this on a link that looks like this in order to go to the demo video, but that'll take you to the most recent demo. If in fact we've done upgrades and you're using an older version and you'd like to see the demo relating to your version, then do click on the watch on YouTube link, which will take you to that specific video on YouTube. So I think that's all you need to know. So without further ado, let's move on to this demo video. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to this demo video for the currency trading game. Now, I make quite a few games actually because I use them more than often to stretch my capabilities and to get me to do things in Excel that I don't normally do for businesses, because I'm sure you can imagine games are usually a lot more visual than a lot of business spreadsheets. This one, however, is not that different to a lot of business spreadsheets, but I made this one just for fun. I made it actually a while ago, but figured under the current circumstances people may be bored, so I thought let's put this out so that you guys can have something to do. Yes, it's in the basic range as a free spreadsheet, but I've done it in the green and red rather than the yellow and blue. Anyhow, let's have a look and see how this works. It's a very, very straightforward spreadsheet. The idea of this is it's kind of like a trading currency game where you have the different currencies. You can trade from one to the other. It costs you obviously to trade, but if you trade from a stronger currency to a weaker currency and the weaker one strengthens, then you make money. So that's how it works. It's obviously because it's just a game, I didn't want to make it so realistic that you just kind of struggled and lost money and all the rest of it. It's actually very, very simple to make money because of one particular should we say, limitation to the game. So I'll show you what that is to make it fair, but there are other things where you're going to have to figure it out. So first and foremost, the first thing to do is this section here, the first gray section under this green header, that contains a whole bunch of numbers that randomize the game. So when you play it one time, you play it again, you're going to have different currencies of different strengths doing different things. So this will determine how that happens. So in order to create a new game, all you do is you shift control and right, and then shift control and down to highlight that whole block, all the gray cells below the green header. Copy, come here, right click, paste values. Not normal paste. Normal paste will ruin your spreadsheet. Paste values. Paste values means it pastes the values, just the numbers, basically, not the formulas, into the other cell. You can't see what they are because obviously that would give away the game, but they are there. So once you've done that, all you need to do on the setup page is start the game. And when to start the game, you click that and click on that's the date and time at the moment. Click on that and the game is now active. So what does that mean? If you click on the currency market, you won't see anything yet. I'll show you that in a minute. If you click on your money shows the value that you have of each currency. Now what it starts off with, each currency starts off with 500, what we call world currency. So the world currency is basically the average rate of all of these currencies, and then they convert so that you can compare apples with apples. And you'd start off with 500 world currencies of each of these different currencies. But that's what you actually hold in each currency. And that's the strengths of the currencies to start off with. So you can see which currencies are stronger. Obviously, your euro and Canadian dollars are stronger here, and the Japanese yen and the Brazilian currencies are both struggling a little bit. So that's your total value. That's what your starting value. So far we've made 1p. It's just because of the rounding off of that currency. So the idea is to sell currencies that you want to sell, that you think are going to come down, and buy currencies that you think are going to go up. Now, the limitation I told you about, which will make this easier, a currency will only ever go as low as 1, and a currency will only ever go as high as 20. It does not go higher than 20, and it does not go lower than 1. Now, that is a massive advantage, because if you've got a currency that's 20 and you hold it, and there's another currency that's 1, the idea is to sell the 20, buy the 1, because the 1's only going up and the 20's only coming down. So that is a massive tip, and that obviously doesn't exist in real life, so that's very handy, and that'll help you to make money. Otherwise, all of these could go up and they could all come down. So the idea is, when do you sell, when don't you? I'll show you in a second how to sell, but before we get to that, let's just have a look at the expert tips. I've put in this expert tip. Now, this expert is, you can always go to newspapers and see what people think is going to happen and talk to money experts. This is kind of like that. They have an idea. I've calculated this expert tips based on some of the knowledge of what goes into deciding what happens to a currency, but not all of the knowledge that goes into it. So for argument's sake, this person is saying the Aussie dollar for the next 6 hours is going to stay where it is, but in the next 12 hours it's looking to go up. The Canadian dollar is looking to drop in the next 6, it's looking to drop in the next 12, and there's a risk of a crash. Now, I'll explain what a crash is when I get to the currency market, but there's a risk of a crash. Whereas the Aussie dollar, the Great British Pound, and the South African Rand are all looking like there may be a chance to soar. Now, if it says there might be a chance, from what I can remember when I made this, and to be honest with you, I can't really, but I think I'm correct in saying that if it says there might be, then there might be. If it doesn't say there might be, then there's probably not going to be. So these guys will always predict cautiously. So if they say there is a chance, they're not necessarily cautiously, they're always keen to put something in one of these columns. So if it says there is a chance, it doesn't necessarily mean there will be. But if it doesn't say there is, it's very, very unlikely that there will be. And same with a crash. So the Canadian dollar generally is just looking like a currency you do not want to be trading in right now. Let's go and have a look at what the currency is actually worth. Canadian dollar is 14, that's quite high. So the Brazil and Japan, let's go back and have a look at the Brazil looking like it's going up and up, and Japan up. So Brazil's looking like a good one, and it's quite low. So what we'll do here is we want to sell our Canadian dollars and buy the Brazilian currency. So if we go to Bureau to Change, what you do is you say sell Canadian dollars. It tells us you've got 357.14. If we do 357, let's just sell all of them, 0.14. Enter, and what do you want to buy? We want to buy Brazil, and then it says converted value 625, fee 31.25, value purchased 593.75. Now all you need to do to authorize it, you haven't actually bought them yet. When you authorize it, you click on that, which basically just puts in now's time, so it knows what the conversion rate is and all the rest of it, and you have now purchased that. So if you go back to your money, you will see that the Brazil, you've now got more of the currency, and if you look at the Canadian dollars, you've now got nothing. So even if the Canadian dollar currency crashes, we're not that bothered. So that's how you can do as many as you like, keep on going down, you can keep going, knock yourself out. Now obviously the whole thing of the game, the two things it's measuring is the game will last for 1 week. So when you start it, it'll go on until that particular time the following week. So the game lasts for a week. the object of the whole thing is to make as much money as you can with as fewer transactions here in the Bureau of Change that you can. Those are the two things it monitors. It monitors how much you've made and how many transactions you've taken. So yeah, that's, you can do each one on each line. Have a look at the expert tips, see what they think is going to happen. Now the 6 hours and 12 hours and the risk of crash and risk of soar. Let's have a look and see what that means. There is the currency market. Now I'm going to show you one I made last night, because that one's actually got a currency market. So this will fill up for 12 hours. So the green here and the red that you can see in the background is the actual world currency rate. So you can see it's gone up and then it's dipped and dipped, which means the whole market has actually dipped since we started. So if you've got the same amount of money as you did when we started, you've now got more, because it's the world currency has actually got weaker. And these are all the individual currencies. You can see what happens. Now sometimes they'll drop 2, like that one, drop 2 points in one hour. Sometimes they'll drop 1 point in 1 hour. And sometimes, so depending on the rate of currency, it may drop 2 in 1 hour, it may drop 1 in 1 hour. Alternatively, a soar or a crash, what a soar does is a soar goes from wherever it was right up to 1 point higher than the highest currency in one go, and a drop will go from wherever they are to 1 point lower than the lowest currency, or 1 if that is the lowest currency, in one go. So we haven't had any soars or crashes here, but it can be devastating. Now if it's already the lowest currency and it has a crash, it's not that big a deal, because it doesn't really go anywhere. But sometimes you'll have the highest currency having a crash, and then you actually watch it go from there down to there in one foul go, or vice versa. So that's what a soar and a crash is. They're quite rare, but they do happen. Alternatively, it could drop 1 point or drop 2 points, or raise 1 point or raise 2 points each turn, depending on the random number that's been generated. So you can see here what's going on with all the currencies, how they're changing. If you want to filter, you can simply select here. If you want to see the Aussie dollar crash, you can come here and see that. If you want to see the South African rand, you can click on that. You can see how it's increasing. If you want to see them all, just clear that, and there you go. And as I said, this will fill up for a 12-hour period, so you can see what's happened in the last 12 hours. So I think that is all it. Oh yeah, one last thing. When you finished, when the game ends after the week and it stops going because you've now run out of time and the currencies just carry on doing what they were doing, you can then go to the game results, select game end, which is, it's blank now because the game hasn't actually ended, but when it does end, you'll see the end time. You can click on here, you can select how much money you've made, which again is blank now, but it won't be when the game's finished. And you can click on here and select how many trades you've made. Now, as you can see, I made, in the last game I played, 634 million world currency. So that's how easy it is to make money. It really is easy. And especially the more money you make, the more money you can then invest into lower currencies, the more money you can just make. So it really does just go nuts towards the end of the game. So you select those three, that basically puts in your results for that game. It shows you where they rank as far as value made and as far as trades made, and it puts in here the game end starting value and then the ending value, so you can see comparative what you've done. So that is basically just all your game results. So you can store them so you can see what you've done. You've got your expert tips that tell you what they think is going to happen to the currency, which is often right but can be wrong. So I wouldn't rely too much on that, but just use it as an idea. Your Bureau of Change, where you actually exchange your currencies by filling in those 4 respective things per line. Your money, where you can see how much you've got in each currency, what that's worth as a world currency, what happened last to it, up, down, or the same, and what the strength is now and what the strength used to be, bearing in mind 1 being the lowest, so that US dollar is not going down. They can only go up, but there's no 20s. 20s can only come down. And then you can see your currency market, selecting by the individual currencies to see what they're doing over the last 12-hour period once you've set up the game. And that's as simple. Now, let me just go back to these random numbers here, because when you copy and paste that across to set up a game, you're setting up unique numbers. Every time you do something on the spreadsheet, the numbers behind here recalculate. So every time you copy and paste, you're copying and pasting different values across, so you're going to get a different game. That's obviously handy to know. Every time you play a new game, you're going to get a different game. But what's also interesting is if you copy the same numbers, so if you copy and paste these values across and then make copies of the spreadsheet, all those spreadsheets will have the same playing numbers. And so this is quite useful. If you want to challenge your mates and you want to play the same game, you can actually do that. So if you copy these values here, copy them here, paste values into the RAID, and then save the spreadsheet 3 or 4 times and send that out to 3 or 4 friends, and they all use that spreadsheet without doing the copy and paste, that means that you'll all have the same numbers, which means you will all experience the same currency changes at the same time, which is quite handy, because then you and your friends can all go and buy what you think is going to work, and then when you're comparing scores at the end of the game, you actually are comparing apples with apples, because you both had the same exchange rates, you both had the same market dips and all the rest of it, and then you can actually see who's done a better job. So that is quite handy if you do want to do that. If you do your own game, that's fine, just do a copy and paste values and it'll generate some random numbers. So I hope that that's all explanatory. It's a fairly simple game to play if you know what you're doing. There's not a lot to actually do. The one last thing I did mention is obviously every hour the market changes, these currencies change. They change on the hour every hour. So if you literally on, it's now 9:53 in the morning as I'm recording this, 9:59 no change, 10 o'clock. All you need to do is refresh the spreadsheet. So you need to type something into a cell. So if you come here and select a currency, that'll basically refresh the spreadsheet. If you don't want to type anything in, if you just press F9, if you press F9, it'll update the spreadsheet, refresh it, and you'll see the changes that have happened that hour. So it happens every hour. On the hour, it'll change currency for a week. Oh yes, one last thing before I go. I do need to show you how to reset the spreadsheet if you want to play another game. So once you've put your results in here, at the end of the week, you select those 3 drop down lists, put your results in. Now you want to start a new game. What you can do, if you're receiving a new spreadsheet from someone, then what you can do is get the new blank spreadsheet, simply come to the game results, highlight your existing game results, right click, copy, come into the new game, right click, paste values. That will then put your old results into the new spreadsheet, so you can then monitor your new results. Alternatively, if you're not getting a new one from someone else and you just want to reuse this one again, all you do is you simply come to the bureau de change, highlight the data under the red headers like that, right click, clear contents, and come here as well, right click, clear contents. So you've removed all the bureau de change. Your money doesn't need to be changed, currency market doesn't need to be changed, and all you do is you simply come to the starting tab, remove that, and then copy this data again, right click, copy, come across to here to reset all the numbers, paste values. Now you've got a new set of numbers. Come back here again, select now's date, and voila, it starts again. So I think that's all. And yeah, if this is something that you would enjoy and you get some relief from the boredom from this, I do wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Goodbye.